Now, an extraordinary story. We know about the slowness of people getting visas, people who fled, women and children who fled Ukraine. They're not coming to the UK in very big numbers. A lot of people have said, we're happy to take people in. It's red tape. It is bureaucracy. Well, we have an extraordinary story here that comes from Herne Hill in South London. It's a house that is owned by Mike Rundell. He's a very well-known, rather famous architect. He's done work for Damien Hirst, Tracy Emin, Stella McCartney, and yet Lambeth Council say he's got to make some home improvements. He needs to have lockable windows, closable doors, extra fire alarms, and something called a gas-safe certificate. Now, I would have thought it's unlikely that a successful fellow like Mike Rundell lived in some kind of dump, but we're going straight to Herne Hill to speak to Mike. Good evening.
Hi there. Good evening.
Good evening. Now, I understand actually the home you live in is a sort of Art Deco, three-storey, really rather magnificent place to live. I mean, were you somewhat shocked by council officials suggesting that you didn't quite pass muster?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was very weird because it's a house I've lived in with my kids for the last 10, 12 years, and they've sort of survived the experience. And there are all sorts of requirements that seem to have been dreamt up by someone. And I guess that's the bit that worries me. It's that someone has dreamt up a series of requirements that if you don't fit into that box, then your house is deemed to be not suitable. Now, my house is rather beautiful. I've got 2 lovely bedrooms. I'm very, very lucky to have the kind of spaces that I know that people would love to live in.
Oh, wow. So this is a guided tour, Mike, of your house, yeah?
Yeah, no, I'm sure you can there'll be some pictures of the bedrooms, which are very nice, a nice collection of teddy bears somewhere, and some very nice spaces. But in general, the house is a lovely space. It's got a beautiful garden, and the difficulty is that in order to satisfy the red tape, and you have to question who's designed this red tape and why, in order to satisfy it, I am going to be required to upgrade the house. Now, I'm really happy to do that. But the delays it's implemented, the delays it's caused. I have this family who I happen to know from my time in Russia, because I used to live in Russia, and they've moved to Ukraine. The dad is driving supplies somewhere across eastern Ukraine at the moment. The poor mum, Masha, doesn't know whether her husband Dima is alive or not. She has 3 kids, lovely 3 young kids, and they're living on a floor of a church somewhere in Germany, and they're stuck there. And they ring me and say, when can we come? When can we come? And all I can say to them is, as soon as the government has told me that my house is suitable. And they go, but surely it looks lovely. And I go, that's the administration process. It is red tape gone mad.
Well, Mike, I have to say your house looks absolutely magnificent, and I'm sure it's infinitely preferable to sleeping on a floor of a church in Cologne. And I think perhaps your case is the best illustration we've had yet of what is wrong in general with our bureaucracy in Britain, but in particular with these rather desperate families. Thank you, Mike, for coming on GB News and sharing your story with us.
Yep,
Thank you. Well, you couldn't make that up, could you? You really couldn't make that up. Quite extraordinary. Now, Lambeth Council, we asked for a response and they have said, we have a responsibility to ensure that the homes offered to Ukrainian refugees are as safe and comfortable as possible and meet the standards we'd expect from accommodation offered to people in our borough. The council adds, none of the properties we have assessed so far and have found to be inadequate under the guidelines. Where alterations are required under the guidance, we've been offering help and advice to residents to ensure their homes are ready to welcome refugees from Ukraine as soon as possible. Stark raving mad is about all I can say to all of that.